So you watched the tapes. Gold star for you. It smashed. Most of the patients are suspects, according to the police. Almost all the patients are referred, and some of them are privates, but Dr. Dekker didn't introduce any of them. She was cuddling him like he was 6. He's 25. I can't help you with that, sorry. Oh, don't be such a... It's just between us two. Nobody likes chaos, Doctor. We're supposed to be restoring order, don't you think? I think I'm going to get into trouble now. Have you ever heard of secret shoppers? Well, Professor Alderby posed as a patient to test Dr. Dekker. It's just a thing that he does. I'm sure he'll come and visit you at some stage, so please play along. Everyone has to believe in something, don't they, Doctor? This practice is owned by a trust. They make all the money and leave me to make all the decisions, which generally means making lots of money. I headhunted Dr. Dekker. And you? Test is the wrong word, more like gently guide. Professor Alderby had a lot of good advice to offer the young psychiatrists. He really helps them focus on where the problems are. I've recruited the last 5 doctors since I've been here. Now I've got a flair for recognising the extraordinary, and both you and Dr. Dekker were extraordinary. Both Cambridge graduates, both top of the class, both pliable, obedient slaves to my every whim. Yeah, that last one's more of a hope than a must-have attribute.
I'm Jasmine. I don't come in that often. What happened to Dr. Dekker? We had a display in the gallery based on Love Conquers All, so I had to work. Mainly it was a collection of giant hearts sat on things, but I ran into another patient, Bryce. I'd never really spoken with him before, but he's quite an art critic. I couldn't get rid of him until I finished work at 11. There's actually another guy who takes over on the night shift. I'm not sure if he kept talking to Bryce though. Providence is open 24 hours. Oh, when? How? Sorry, you probably don't know, do you? Ouch. I didn't really know him that well. I'm trying to remember what I was doing on Valentine's Day now. There's not much to tell. I knew he was a patient here. I'd seen him in the waiting room a couple of times. He likes art and talking and looking down here instead of up here. When you see a painting, it stands still. When I see one, it's moving, like a mini film, like little vines. But when there's a person in the painting, they watch me, normally disapprovingly. Because they don't think I know how to appreciate art, because I'm too young. Yes, of course. Otherwise I wouldn't be working in an art gallery. I love art. I love paintings. Like I said, they move for me. When I want them to, normally. When I want to really get inside what's going on. But some paintings, I can't stop. I've been working on portraits, at home, outside work. But my paintings aren't so good. Nowhere near Providence standard. I painted a man, Dorian. You know, after Dorian Gray. I wanted to try and capture someone aging, so I divided the face into thirds and painted a boy, his father, and his grandfather in each third. It was hideous. And it started talking to me. That I'm ugly, that I have no talent, nothing will become of me. Is that true, Doctor? I hear it so many times with that wretched painting. It's in my head. But thank you. He was shy, and then less so. When I told him about my problem, he told me to set fire to it. Yeah, he could have been more specific. I tried to set fire to Providence. At that time, I thought the only way to fix my problem was to set fire to the entire art gallery. Several paintings didn't make it. Luckily, my boss didn't press charges. The police did arrest me, though. My boss, Petra, she's just lovely like that. Providence has gone through some tough times, and I've only been there a year. She invested her life savings, and it's still not making any money. Such a sweet lady. You'd do anything for her. Dr. Dekker told me to burn it. It was nothing to do with Petra. No. Why are you saying that? I don't even know if Petra has insurance. I already ripped up the painting. It screamed as I cut it. And now whenever I close my eyes, I can see it, hear it. I need the tablets, Doctor. I need them. The temazepam, the sleeping tablets. The ones you gave me last time. Dr. Dekker gave them to me. They helped. I know it's in my head. I know paintings can't talk. What's wrong with me, Doctor? Why do I do this? Thank you, Doctor. I'll think about that. And the prescription, please?
I'm Lacey Hendricks. So you don't know about me then? Where to start? My next door neighbour in Jobson Hill, where I live, she was murdered. 80, and they diversion burgled her. But she was wise to it and started calling the police. They slit her throat with a bread knife. So I started a neighbourhood watch. It was me and Agnes. Everyone else thought we were overreacting. If they want their throats cut, that's up to them, living in their bubbles. But Agnes, poor Agnes. She went missing, and still is. And that's what people think. But it's not the truth. It killed them. It looks normal enough. A smartly dressed door-to-door saleswoman. I know because I heard my other neighbours shout at her, "No Jehovah's!" They think anyone knocking is a Jehovah. But she said she was selling double glazing. I don't know, I didn't answer the door. Best not to nowadays. But I watched her go to Agnes's. Poor Agnes. She let her right into her house. I could only see the silhouette. It turned from a person into it looked like, I guess you'd call it a Medusa, snakes for her face. And Agnes just fell to the floor. A few minutes later, the woman left, smiling like the cat that got the cream. That was the end of Agnes. I saw it with my own eyes. What more proof do I need? You're starting to sound like Dr. Dekker. He didn't believe me either. I didn't have much luck with him, like I said. He didn't believe me. He thought I was having a hallucination caused by the stress of my neighbour being so brutally murdered. Where is Agnes, though? I haven't found her, have they? Have they? They haven't found her because that thing ate her. Or made her disappear or something. Her useless husband managed to survive unscathed, though. I was at Henley Church. They had a service that ran right up till midnight. For us less fortunates without a love in their life. Well, now. Do you have someone, Doctor? Do you have a love in your life? Garden club. You should come with me one night. It's a lovely way to meet new people. Don't know much about him. Other than the fact that he looks at me like I'm 6 foot under every time we meet. He doesn't seem too bothered she's gone missing either. He did at first, when the police were crawling around. But now they've gone, that's stopped. If I hadn't seen that thing eat her, I'd... No. He's a weaselly little man. He spends far too much time in his garden. It's probably like the National Trust back there. The constant digging and building, pruning and sawing. What a thing to say! Why would you say that? I kept watching the front door after that saleswoman had left and nothing. She didn't leave. And you can't get out the back since the council sold the garage block. Ron's a gardener, not a killer. Unless... Agnes said Ron was laying the foundations for a new greenhouse. You don't think... I need to call the police. I need to call them now. But they won't listen to me. I tried to tell them about the monster, but they didn't believe me. They won't believe me about this, I promise you. Please, could you call them, Doctor? I'll get someone else to do it. I suppose I shouldn't really expect any help from you. Dr. Dekker used to call me the leech lady. He said that I leech thoughts from people, suck 'em right out of their heads. And I can put thoughts in there too. I'm not that clever though, am I, Doctor? I mean, it's not as if I was having an affair with Ron and Agnes was in the way and needed to disappear. So I made this story up. I mean, what do you think I do for a living anyway? Doctor, you're so good. We're going to get on just fine.
David Hunt,
I can change my skin.
then Skins.
Dr. Dekker dated his patients.
I had a hot date
We went out for drinks.
I took photos of Jessica.
Dr. Dekker did
on
phone.
Valentine's Day.
Ask me for Nathan's number.
There was a girl there.
Am I wrong to keep the locket?
I'm allowed to talk to her, aren't I?
He was preoccupied with finding
Photographs.
patterns.
Rocking chair.
I haven't been back to the beach since
I had a bit of a shaky loop incident.
where I find something
I set fire
beautiful in the sea.
to Hannah's clothes in the garden. I dug the grave.
I wish I'd said goodbye.
Dr. Dekker cursed me.
It didn't weigh enough to have a body in it.
Oh, Doctor, you surprised me. Reminds me of Officer Yates. Did I ever mention I had a special friend in the police force? Nah, it's not something you drop politely into a conversation. He's been doing some digging and he's found a couple things. There's a crime scene report that goes into all the gory details and another report that's about a patient you're seeing today, Claire. I'll put them both on the desk for you. And thanks for the grief counselling, by the way. It's really been helping, you know, I'm so glad you're here.
paper spike is an odd thing to use as a weapon. I suppose if it went directly into the heart, it might work. Or through his eye, or perhaps through the ear and into his brain. Or was it just a frenzied, bloody mess of a murder? Do you know, Doctor? It makes for interesting reading, doesn't it? I can tell you're dying to ask me about it. Fire away. That's what it says. I can see you're confused. The police say that David is dead, fatally wounded when I stabbed him. The coroner says that David is dead. Everyone says that David is dead. There was even a funeral. But I know he's alive. I've been to the lake house regularly, keeping an eye on David. I saw the girl again, the one I told you about. She was playing outside. He's buried at Henley Church. You can go see for yourself. There's even a headstone. One of your other patients was a pallbearer. I never forget her face. You should ask him. Bryce was a pallbearer for David. He's also a grave digger, I believe. Smuggling a body out of a funeral can be difficult, unless you pay the right people. David wanted to have a talk about our relationship. Not something any married person wants to hear. He said he'd been with Iris for about a year and that he loved her. He said he didn't love me anymore, which I know is a lie. You don't just fall out of love with somebody. I reacted badly. I grabbed the nearest weapon I could find, which happened to be the steak knife, and stabbed him with it. There was so much blood. I instantly regretted it. So I fixed him. It was about a week later. I brought David back to life. Not with voodoo, not with virginal sacrifice. I just willed it to happen, and it did. Dr. Dekker told me it was possible, but only if you're not buried. He says once you're in the ground, there's no coming back. But until then, you have a chance at resurrection. Yes, resurrection. But now that I've seen the results, I don't think there's anything holy about it. I think reanimation is more an accurate term. Like, I'm an evil necromancer raising things from the dead. I think his brain was already decaying during the week that he was dead. Important bits. So when I brought him back to life, I didn't heal him completely. Just gave him life in the state he was in. I mean, he's hunting and killing things and trying to roast them on fires he can only light with matches, but that's about it. He's your basic Neanderthal. So I have a problem. I'm being charged with murder because the police don't know he's still alive, and I can't get David to vouch for me for obvious reasons. I think it would raise quite a few more questions than answers, which is why I'm hoping that you'd be able to help me. Considering the circumstances, I'd be grateful if you could see your way to declaring me temporarily insane at the time of the murder, to lessen my sentence. Because I'm not a killer, but I can't prove otherwise. You don't still think I'm a killer, do you, Doctor? Thank you, Doctor. So then you'll help me? You'll say I was temporarily insane? I'm going to pretend that I didn't hear that. Let's have a few more sessions before you seal our fates. Or is it that you want something else? Like Dr. Dekker did? Dr. Dekker teased me mercilessly about my alleged ability. He didn't believe I'd reanimated David. Once he presented me with a dead mouse and commanded me to give it life again. I didn't, of course. It's not something I'd throw around lightly. He changed his mind about me eventually. And then he mentioned the girl. He told me he'd locked up a girl in the basement of his house, just for me, and he asked me to reanimate her. It was Iris. I said I couldn't reanimate something that wasn't dead, and he said that wouldn't be a problem. So I agreed. I just played along. I was hoping it wasn't real. I assumed it wasn't real. But he was offering me what I wanted, a temporary insanity diagnosis. It didn't happen. Dr. Dekker called me from his house to cancel. He was furious. He said that Iris had escaped and he blamed me for it. He said that I must have set her free after he told me about her. I knew it was all lies anyways. He was obviously titillating himself by reprimanding me. He knew I'd never want to speak to Iris again, so I couldn't prove it either way. Dr. Dekker asked if I could prove David wasn't dead, so I took him to the lake house. He saw that I was telling the truth. I can take you to see him too, if you like. Would you like to see David, Doctor? Very well. In our next session. You tell me. What could possibly explain that? I assure you, David is not a ghost. I've touched him. If David doesn't exist, then that means that I really did kill him. He really is buried, and I really should be going to prison for a very long time. That just doesn't seem right to me. It's more probable that I reanimated him under Dr. Dekker's guidance. Since I brought him back, I felt that there was something different about him, something not quite right. I think it's his brain. But how ludicrous that you can bring someone back in the first place. It's like that book, Pet Cemetery. Funnily enough, he does smell of earth, but that's because he spends most of his time out hunting. How astute, Doctor. Yes, I did say I hadn't seen Dr. Dekker outside of our sessions. That wasn't a lie. Our trip to the lake house was made during a session. I didn't speak to her this time. Something about her made me feel uneasy. I just watched her from the bedroom window. She'd caught a fish. She was holding it in her hands. I wasn't close enough to see, but for all intents and purposes, it looked as if the fish bit her. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. It's a messy business, stabbing someone. You'd imagine that it would be like slicing into a pie with all the filling just slowly oozing out, but it's so much more dramatic, like popping a cork of a bottle of champagne. Blood sprayed everywhere. I have a picture of him I took after he came back. I'll bring it in next session.
Hello, Doctor. I've been thinking about our last session, and I just wanted you to know that I'm not a bad person. I know taking naked photographs is wrong, but you don't know what it's like until you face the same temptation. I'm assuming you don't know what it's like. Do you have an extra hour, Doctor? You're playing games with me, Doctor. I was going to tell you what I know about the murder weapon, but now, well, now you just have to go without. I overheard your assistant earlier. I know about that paper spike. It was sharp. What I really wanted to tell you was, there's someone else in my hour. A hooded figure. Watching me and following me. I followed it too. Dr. Dekker frequently used that paper spike on his desk as an example. I'm sure he did it with the other patients too. He'd make me look at it, touch the point to see how sharp it was. He'd tell me that because I think it's sharp, it will hurt me. But if I thought it was nothing, it could pass right through my hand. I'm actually a classically trained pallbearer. There are a lot of health and safety considerations. Not everybody can do it. Well, properly at least. Occasionally I step in if the funeral director is short-shouldered. I do remember her face. She wasn't upset in the usual way. She seemed agitated. Her husband must have been a giant. The coffin was so heavy. I remember because aft port side sprained his ankle. That and he wasn't lifting correctly. I spied on Dr. Dekker, not long before he was murdered. I'm not sure I should tell you what I saw in his basement. I don't know who it is. My initial thought was that it was you, that I told you about my affliction and somehow you'd got it too. Now I think maybe it's the military or some organization that wants to use the hour themselves. Maybe it's Dr. Dekker risen from the dead. I need to talk to you about him. Whatever it is that's following me, it doesn't want to catch me yet. If I move towards it, it runs away. And when I follow it past temptations. A bar brawl, an open till, an open bedroom window. Like it's testing me.
I burned Hannah's rocking chair. The day moved forward. It was a good choice. I'm not sure I've got much left of hers now. I've burnt most of it, or given it away, just to make the days move forward. There was a moment when I was attacking a Salvation Army bin, but I gave in. I accidentally put Hannah's diary into a Salvation Army donation bin. They're like huge post boxes with a circular tray that makes sure things spill to the bottom. I tried to get in to get it back, but I gave up. I've told you all I know about Dr. Dekker. He started out good, then turned a bit crazy towards the end. When you start giving people more problems as a therapist, that's a bit crazy. I didn't notice Dr. Dekker had a paper spike. I haven't really seen more than a foot in front of me since Hannah died. Can we maybe not talk about Hannah anymore? And thanks for the dating advice, by the way. I started out with depression. Now I seem to repeat days. Even if you don't believe the repeat days, then I clearly have extra mental health problems that he's given me. I think that he possibly cursed other people, a bit like he cursed me. Sometimes you could see he was bursting to tell me about it, but he couldn't. He was ecstatic with power. The curse. Well remembered. I was hoping you'd forget. It's going to sound crazy. Dr. Dekker said I would never be able to move forward until I came to terms with my grief. And so from this point on, I start to relive the same day over and over again until I made something of it. I believed him. I didn't want to believe him. I remember I said, you can't just say things and they happen. He laughed and laughed. I think he was going mad. He said he'd give me a demonstration. He held his hand outstretched and told me to look at the flame. There was no flame, and then there was. He was holding a flame in his hand that had come out of nowhere. And he tried to hypnotize me to make me forget it. I didn't forget seeing the flame. He wanted me to forget it all, but I didn't. For whatever reason, he couldn't undo what he'd done. I was scared. I pretended like the hypnosis had worked. I was scared what Dr. Dekker would do to me if he found out I still knew. So I had to play along, keep coming to the sessions, pretend I hadn't seen what he'd done. It was awful, because I was suffering through the same days over and over again, but I couldn't talk to him about it, because he'd know. He'd become bored of me, so I got much of my insight from calls or messages he'd take during our sessions. I think because he hypnotized me, he didn't want to play with me anymore, so I got basic therapist. He told me lots of people get depression, to become more active, see more people. And although he wouldn't always be there to listen, Jaya would be. Yeah, I talked to her quite a lot. I'm not sure how many days of that she'd remember. She seemed to care, which is more I can say for Dekker. I read the last few weeks of Hannah's diary a while ago. I must have accidentally dropped in some clothes for the Salvation Army bin. It's funny, because I wasn't going to read it. She said she'd fallen out of love with me, that she was going to break off the engagement, that she didn't love me anymore. I regretted it. I regretted that I mourned for Hannah so long. I regret the grief. I regret all the days I slept through because of it. Had I known she didn't love me anymore, things would have been different. I'm a bit angry now. If I had that day over again, I may just still pull out in front of the driver. You told me not to look for anyone else until I was ready, so I didn't. I've just been sitting at home, reading Hannah's diary, stewing. I ordered a pizza. A nice girl delivered it. I didn't kill Dr. Dekker. I wanted to be as far away from him as possible. I don't know who did. It took a week of days to get that pizza girl to smile. And you know what did it? A tip, as much as the pizza cost. So money does make you happy. Yeah, I talked